We're your hosts,
Aaron Backus
and Jason Kindler.
We like to sit down with our guests to hear their journey, their challenges, and how they impact the local community.
So grab a seat, tune in, and let's get inspired by Jacksonville's everyday workforce.
Welcome to Hometown Jax. I am very excited about this episode today. Kristin Keen, thank you for being here today. What an honor. I know one of our mutual friends connected us, Billy Wagner. Billy Wagner knows everybody, so
he knows everybody.
It doesn't surprise me. He said this would be a great person to have on the podcast. He was actually sitting in that same exact seat a little while ago. So
he was just on my podcast,
so
this
funny.
is great.
It's the podcast circuit. We're very happy to have you. Now, Kristin is the founder of Rethreaded. Actually, a lot of people in our community in the mortgage and real estate know Rethreaded, but our audience is much bigger than that, and I want to make sure that they know who you're about and what Rethreaded is about. We're going to walk through a bunch of different things in this podcast, but can you tell us what Rethreaded is?
So Rethreaded's mission is for the complete restoration of survivors of human trafficking.
Okay.
So after a woman experiences human trafficking, we're about stage 2. So a woman comes to us, usually with severe complex trauma, 72 barriers to rebuild her life. We give employment. So we give long-term employment, 3 to 5 years. So she can work in retail, finance, operations, in the kitchen, wherever she's naturally gifted. We give her a job there. And then when she's working with us, she's paid on the clock training. So it's career development, mental health resources, group counseling, individual counseling, EQ. I mean, whatever a woman needs to rebuild her life, Rethreaded does that. And it's long-term, 3 to 5 years.
And do they live there too?
They don't live there. We're the business and the wraparound services.
Okay. Okay. So you said women. So it's only women?
It's only women.
Okay. Okay. So tell us a little bit about the human trafficking, because I noticed one of the things that was said on your website that Jacksonville is actually a huge hub for it. And I guess people like me, I'm talking from my perspective, it's hard for me to conceptualize it. Like, how does someone get grabbed and put it? I'm thinking of the movie. Someone gets grabbed and puts in this situation. Like, how does that happen?
So in reality, only 5% of human trafficking cases is abduction. Only 5%. Wow. The other is a woman, 95% is a woman as a vulnerability. I'm just going to say woman. Boys, girls, all trafficked. I'm going to say women because that's who we work with.
Yep.
Has a vulnerability, and the trafficker exploits the vulnerability to control the person so he can sell her and make a profit.
Okay.
So the definition of human trafficking is the use of force, fraud, or coercion to perform a sex act for profit.
Okay.
So a woman has a vulnerability. I'll to put it in story form. Like, one of our women was married, 4 kids, married her high school sweetheart, like PTA mom, classroom mom, loved being a stay-at-home mom. That's what she wanted to do her whole life. She's 24, and her husband came back from the military and had PTSD and decided he didn't want his family anymore. So she was left with a kid and all these kids, mortgage, cars,
right.
And she started working nights in a retail store, and a man came through her line and said, "How are you?" She told him, unknowingly revealing all her vulnerabilities.
Right.
And he started showing up, and over a couple months, they started a romantic relationship, which turned into a year-long relationship where he slowly isolated her over time. And then after a year, he introduced trafficking, the force, fraud, and the coercion, severe violence, severe sexual exploitation, threats against her children, and she was trafficked in Jacksonville for 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
It's just so hard to understand that. Wow. And is this person that does the trafficking generally part of an organization?
It just depends on the situation. There are trafficking rings where they buy and sell girls. Sometimes it's a boyfriend. Sometimes, it's all different. It's like trafficking really has nothing to do with being moved. I wish there was a different word for it.
Right.
So there are networks. A lot of it is related to addiction. Like, addiction is one of the main vulnerabilities. A lot of the traffickers are drug dealers. And then there's the other equation is that, so this woman named Rachel, when she was able to leave the life, it's because they finally arrested her trafficker, and she was taken out of a hotel off South Side in 95.
Okay.
So at that time, he was controlling the lives of 36 women. And that means there's enough customers, there's enough people in Jacksonville buying sex from women who are being trafficked to support that. So there's this whole other equation that no one likes to talk about, which is the demand issue. Is people. The trafficker wouldn't have anyone to sell to if there was no demand.
Well, for sure. So it's almost like a sophisticated pimp. Like it's
a pimp. Yeah.
It's not like what you see in the old school movies where he's on the corner doing. I mean, it's mind control. It's almost cultish a little bit.
It is, and it's a very similar trauma from a cult. Except usually there's extreme violence usually introduced and threats and coercion.
Wow. And that's the thing when you said that word trafficking. I mean, I'm visualizing a different country, someone grabbing a kid and their parents don't know about it and you never see them again.
100% of our women are U.S. citizens.
Wow. Wow.
And a majority of our women, so far, 95% of the women at Rethreaded were trafficked in Northeast Florida.
Right. Now, how do they know about you? Or do you have efforts to go out and try to find them?
So this is the most amazing part that I always love to talk about is that, so we're kind of stage 2. So when a woman gets out of the life, severe complex trauma, usually no driver's license, and trauma steals your ability to rationally think, usually in addiction recovery. So we're like stage 2. So we're like 6 months out. And they come to us. So we have partnerships with rehab centers. Wherever we can get the word out, we have relationships. But really what happens is that our women, they get healed and strong. And the women that they knew in the life are watching them. And our women pave the way for other women to come behind them. And they bring along women that they knew when they were in the life. And that's how really women come to Rethreaded, is through our survivors being healed and whole. And proving that you can have a different life. There's something you can do that's different.
How long do they usually stay with you? I know you said it's 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years. It takes that long. It takes, just from brain healing science, like when you come out of severe complex trauma, which is trauma that you have over and over and over again, right? Changes your brain chemistry. At minimum, it takes 2 years to reach baseline. So for the first 2 years, our women are just like getting back to baseline, right?
Right.
So then it's the next 3 years, 2 to 3 years, that they're actually building their life.
Do you struggle with them like trying to get back in?
Not necessarily in the life. We have like a 98% success rate of women not going back to the life.
Right.
A lot of times it's addiction is what takes them out, or they get in an unhealthy relationship and that pulls them back.
Right.
But we've had women come back.
Right.
And a lot of times our women have enough they get enough. Like one of our women said it to me the other day. She was one that was with us for a while and then left. And she said, she came back to see us and she said, when I was here, I had a glimpse of who I was.
Right.
And that was enough for her when she did relapse to have the strength to go back and do it again. So, but like, for example, this year we had 4 women leave successfully. Like when I say successfully, like go on to like, they probably make more money than me. They're like directors of development at drug rehab centers. One's an office manager. One just graduated top of her class in welding school. Wow. They have their kid. Everything is restored, right? The complete restoration of a woman's life. Wow. So I'm super proud of all. Our women work so hard. As
you should be, because it's not like fixing something and then you fix. It's like a long-term thing from what I'm hearing.
It's usually a generational thing, right? Yeah. Usually a lot of our vulnerabilities as people, right, come from our family unit, right? Sure. And what we learned and what is modeled. So our women are literally breaking generational cycles.
Right. Well, I think that's really interesting. And I think people would understand in what you're saying more, that this is not the movie situation. This is just everyday Jacksonville, and how appropriate it is for this podcast. Well,
it's sometimes meeting the wrong person at the wrong time.
Right. And the fact that the idea of someone as naive as me, that there's people out there in lines at stores just looking for those people. That's what's scary.
I know. I know.
And scary and kind of, I mean, frankly, hard to believe until you've experienced it. So, wow. Well, let's talk about how you've really turned this around, though, and you've made a business out of being able to support those people. So we talk about the mission. So let's talk about like how do they financially support? What do you sell? All that good stuff.
So we run there's a couple different business, but our main is we run an upcycling company. So we have a manufacturing center and we make items out of upcycled products. So we have a partnership with Southwest Airlines. So they donated to us 27 pallets of airline seats, leather airline seats, and we figured out how to make those into new products. So journals, keychains, purses. I mean, we make all kinds of stuff. And a lot of people don't know, but like one of our main lines of business is corporate gifting. So that's why we know the real estate community so well, is because a lot of the real estate agents give our gifts as closing gifts, or home builders give our gifts. So, and then we also, over COVID, we also purchased our first company. We purchased a toffee company, candy company. Yeah. So we literally make the best candy it is so good, the best candy in the whole world. And then we run a retail store that is filled with goods made by women who have been able to leave trafficking through that business. So everything is survivor made in our store.
That's so awesome. And you can buy it online, buy it in their store. Now let's talk about, because I went out there one day and we're taking apart the seats. So are you still working through the 27 pallets of seats?
We're done with those 20. Honestly, this year we just finished those 27 pallets. So it took about 6 years.
Do you just raise your hand to all the airlines, say we need more seats, or?
We have some other connections, some Collins Air and a couple other. We have Brightway Trains. When they redid theirs, they gave them to us. So yeah, we are currently looking for other sources of leather, but.
So but this kind of a side note and kind of funny, so where would those seats go if they didn't give you?
The landfill.
So do they take it to that big place they see in the desert where all the bad or the old planes go?
Yeah. And it would be there with us forever.
So when you say donated, of course it's nice for them to facilitate getting it to you, but it would go to the landfill.
It would go to the landfill.
Wow.
So this is why I love Southwest though, because typically you think of that and you're like, oh, it's a PR stunt. And yeah, they do. It is a marketing, but not only do they donate the leather airline seats, it also came with a grant. So they got that allowed us to purchase the machinery, that allowed us to fund 3 months of training so we could figure out what to do with the leather. Right. We have an installation at the airport that would just ended. So they're like a partner with us.
But I'm sure that takes some money and efforts to get the seats out of the planes to you.
They could choose totally different things to do with it, and they choose to make this effort and do good. I love it. I will brag about them.
Well, yeah, deservedly so. I mean, they deserve the credit. I mean, however you want to look at the credit, I mean, that's great. So let's go back about you a little bit, because I noticed the itch must have started when you went to Kolkata, India?
Calcutta.
Calcutta. I should know that word. Tell me what brought you there and how that started.
So really, all of this stems from you can always kind of tell what a founder struggles with. And I want women to know their worth and their value. It's from my own story, right? I'm not a survivor of human trafficking, but I'm a survivor of exploitation. And I was like, I never want another woman to feel this way. Right. So that, in my 20s, my early 20s, 20.
Yeah. A couple years ago.
I mean, my dream at that point was I wanted to be married by 23 and 3 kids by 30. Okay. But I became a Christian around that time, and I just felt like God said, whatever you think is your greatest shame, I'm going to use it to change the world. So that there was a switch in my life, and suddenly this became my passion. I want women to know who they are, what value they add to the world. Right. And that has led me on a totally different path. And that's how I ended up in Calcutta, India for almost 6 years, working with women in the red light district there. Okay. Okay. And it was 10,000 women, 30% underage. So 3,000 girls. It's called Working the Line. So women and girls just standing in line in this for 4-block radius in the city.
Wow. So what did you do when you worked there? You went out and kind of ministered to them and tried to get, hey, that we can offer you a change kind of thing? Or?
So for 2 years, me and my friends, we just sat with women and learned the language.
Okay.
So listen to stories, we drink a lot of tea. And then after 2 years of like hearing all these stories, we're like, we are going to go insane if we don't do something. Right. I can't sit here anymore.
Right.
And so me and my friends started a business so they would have a way to leave. Because there's nothing to go to in India. Like you're shamed, you're a marked woman, you don't have education. Like probably maybe if you're lucky, you can get a maid unless they find out about what's happened to you. And then you're ostracized. So we started a business to give women a way out called Sari Bari. And we took, this is where the upcycling came from. We took vintage saris from India. That's the dress that women wear. And we started making blankets out of it. Right. And it started with 3 women, and I was there, and we grew it to 30. And then I came home, and my friends stayed, and they grew it to over 100 women.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I love, that's what I really love about you and the research I've done and the themes that we're going to talk about is that you've not only ministered or going out and changing lives, but you're figuring out a way through it through business. Like, hey, we can help you with your psychology, but we got to figure out a way how you can sustain afterwards.
You have to go to something.
Right. So, work certainly gives us all a mission and a purpose and things along those lines. I feel like that's kind of what you've been doing.
It's the work at Rethreaded where women get to rediscover what's inside them. What am I good at? What brings me life? What am I naturally good at? What's harder for me? Yeah, that's who they figure out who they are.
What's a typical work day there? Is it start at 8 and I
love my job so much. 8:30 to 5.
Okay.
Hour lunch.
Okay.
Every morning we start the first 15 minutes with devotion.
Yep.
And that is...
So it's a group thing. Everybody gets together.
It's a group thing. Everything's there. And it's on topics. Whoever's leading it is the topic. Sometimes it's on like how to stop being on your phone to what is your purpose.
Right.
And we all get to take turns leading it. So that's my favorite is when we just had a woman in the program lead for the first time, lead devotion for the first time. And it's a really big deal.
Yeah, for sure.
So then at lunch, I'll brag about this too because my staff is amazing. During the recession, right? That was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. We started a food program and we started providing food from different food banks, but then we started taking the food from the food banks and providing 2 hot meals a week, and we just extended that to 5.
Wow.
So now we know that our women, we get to eat lunch together.
Yeah.
So it's like a sacred time.
Right.
And then we get home-cooked meals 5 days a week.
Wow.
So we know our women will have access to good, healthy food, and then it provides a job for our women, and then they get to learn how to cook. I mean, there's just so much goodness that comes out of that.
Is it ever a little hard when a woman gets in the program initially? Like, no, you have to show up here at 8:30.
Oh, yeah.
You have to, like, it's...
So some of our women show up with, like, no job experience, like when we're doing internships in college and school, and they're in the life, right?
Yeah.
So they come and they just don't know.
Right.
They've haven't had structure of being on time every day at 8:30, and here's the structure around you, and so there's a lot of grace that first year.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
A lot of grace to get women stable enough and healthy enough to function.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. We celebrate a lot. So we hired a hiring class this year of 7. I think it was 7. And we've had 100% retention rate.
That's awesome.
It's awesome, and we're celebrating that. And again, I'm so proud.
It's probably because you're Serenity Garden. I remember that.
I love our Serenity Garden. I love our Serenity Garden.
When I was there, you took us around the tour. I don't know if it was you. I can't remember, but I remember the Serenity Garden.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And when I was on your website, I remembered that. So that's where things happen there.
Yeah, it's the peaceful, quiet place.
Yeah. Well, that's super interesting. I want to kind of go through your history of Rethreaded a little bit. For those of you who want to know, it's on the website. It was really nicely done. I was asking you for your bio before, and why didn't you just tell me, Aaron, go to the website? It's all on the website.
Probably because I didn't know it was there.
It was just laid out really nice. So I kind of want to go through the progression because 2024 was 13 years, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you founded in 2012. We know we talked about that. You talked about your Mukti imports established and first home party. What does a home party mean?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What does
so
a home
that was
party
before Rethreaded was called Rethreaded. I was calling it Mukti Imports, and it was a for-profit company.
Okay.
Because I really wanted to have a for-profit company for women.
So is Rethreaded a nonprofit?
It's a nonprofit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So we started doing home parties. So I knew all these vendors in India who were employing survivors of human trafficking. So I would bring those gifts over, and I would sell them at home parties.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had our first home party, made our first $1, and then eventually through lots of advice, we changed it to a nonprofit.
Okay.
Which was actually a very, very, very smart decision.
Right.
So that's how
the first home party.
Yeah, we started the main way we made money at the beginning was home parties.
Okay.
We'd go just like a Mary Kay party.
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you just started, would you just grab a couple of survivors and say, "Hey, I need your help," kind of thing, or was it just you?
It was. So I came back from India, and for 2 years I worked as a dietitian.
Right.
Like I actually used my degree for the first time.
Right.
And I would run home parties at night.
Okay.
Saved all that money. And then I quit my job and worked as a nanny part-time and worked on developing Rethreaded, and then went full-time the summer of 2012 to launch it. And I forgot the question. I'm telling you the history. What's the question?
It's we were just talking about the what was the functionality of the home parties? Like, who would you bring? Yeah.
So then so I saved all that money. And then we launched the summer of 2012 with me full-time and a part-time bookkeeper and an intern.
Okay.
So we launched in July, and then we hired 3 survivors full-time. I mean, I could write a book on what not to do. We hired survivors full-time.
We all can own business.
Yeah, that's true. Hired survivors full-time to make product. So they learned how to sew, and it was a lot. Yeah. So that's how we brought survivors in at the beginning, was full-time. And now it's a whole beautifully developed program.
Right.
Well,
now that I'm thinking about it, like, did you know you would be dealing with airline seats?
No.
Is that why you called it Rethreaded?
No, it was called Rethreaded at the beginning. We knew we were going to do T-shirts.
Okay.
Right. So
because Rethreaded means to me taking something old and making it new.
It's deeper than that. It's taking something that was meant for this purpose and using it for a different purpose.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like this idea of rethreading our lives, right? Mm-hmm. This pain, hard things that happen to you are sometimes meant to hurt you and destroy you. So we take that pain and we rethread it, and we use it to reach your potential, to heal and reach your potential.
Awesome.
So it started off with T-shirts, and then in 2017, that's when we got the phone call from Southwest. And they're like, "Hey, do you want to be part of this program?" And I was like, "Heck yeah."
Yeah. Well, you kind of hit on my next point. Well, let's go back to the first building, 2022. Yeah. You literally had a building donated by somebody?
Yeah, Load King. I don't know if anyone knows the company Load King. It's like this hidden treasure. They're a national company in Jacksonville.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's run by the Chutt family.
And what do they do?
So they outfit. So like Starbucks would hire them when they open a new Starbucks. Load King makes everything for the store. Okay. Puts it in a shipping container and ships it.
Very interesting.
And installs the store. So they have a bagel company, like companies hire them to.
So they literally donated you a building.
Yeah, they donated us a building.
Wow.
With no air conditioning. Only 2 offices that were air conditioned, and the rest of the warehouse.
Well, we start with the building.
And and then we had that. We repainted the floors, and then at our opening party on July 14th, 2012, in Florida, no air conditioning, right? Yeah. We set up a store. Yeah. Me and all my friends, like anyone who was my friend was on my board, got on my board, or they helped out at that time. Right. And we were expecting at most, like 200, 500 people showed up.
Wow.
and we had our record sales of $12,000, and that record held for like 6 more years.
Wow.
So it was like Jacksonville embraced us
Like
literally from
day
day
record
one.
of sales.
Yeah.
Like one day record,
One day
of,
record
sales.
of sales. We
That's
had
incredible.
no inventory system. We had no, everything was by hand. I mean, oh my gosh. It was so fun and
It's okay.
exhilarating.
You-
it was
you
so
passed
fun and
that. You're
exhilarating.
good.
It
You don't
is.
have to get
I'm like,
stressed.
I do. I think about it. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I understand. Well, you talked about hiring your first 3 employees in 2012. Now let's go to the next thing. It was on your timeline, Scarf Legacy. What does that mean?
So that's around that time we also created our signature product, which I do not have on today, is our gray scarf. And it's
Okay.
a t-shirt scarf made out of t-shirts. And it had this deep meaning to it. And once we told the story and what it meant to people, it became like our signature product. It's
Right.
kind of like what every company dreams of, right?
Right.
And you would wear it around town and people would be like, oh, that's Rethreaded. And people would know the scarf.
Now you said T-shirts. Were they given to you T-shirts that were for something else?
Donated t-shirts.
Okay.
And then we made them
interesting.
into, at that point, the scarf was the best selling. But
Yeah.
we made jewelry and all kinds of stuff. But the scarf is what stuck.
Well, what's really interesting, going back to the business sense that you have, is telling a story and deeper meaning behind your product is a winner, right?
It's a winner.
Whether you're doing your work or whatever, that's a winner.
Yeah. Which is why our toffee is honestly, I would put up our toffee against any other toffee in the world. And it has this deep meaning and purpose.
Right. You launched first retail store on Barrett Street. That's different than the Lode King building.
No,
right?
that's the Lode King building.
Okay, awesome. So retail store. 2015 established pathways for growth. And what I'm guessing from talking to you a little bit, like you have really specific processes and plans that the survivors go through. Right?
Now we do. not when I was. So my staff. So I am a entrepreneur to my core, right?
Yes.
Ideas and energy
right.
and
I
like,
understand.
I will run myself into the ground with
Right,
ideas.
right.
But we have this amazing staff. Jason Jones, our COO, he came around 2015, and then Nikki, who's now our CFO, came around the same time. And that's when we really started to put structure in place. And that's when we started to have career paths development.
Right.
So at that time it was manufacturing, retail.
Yeah.
And now we have 5 or 6 career paths that women can take.
Interesting. Interesting.
We
That's really
introduced
interesting.
traction into our business around that time too, though. It's a business operating system, and it changed our lives.
Well, what is that? What do you mean?
It's
like
a
computer?
traction.
Like a
It's a
or just
operating
like EOS?
EOS.
Oh, of course I know. We use EOS here.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny that you say that. It's awesome.
We implemented that, and we had growth every year.
So when you say you implemented it, because this is really interesting, you implemented the way you conduct meetings, the implementation, the rocks.
10-year goal, 3-year. Yep, rocks.
Wow. Did you have a consultant come in to help you with that, or you
Jason
just
Jones is the COO, is an operational genius.
Wow.
So someone gave me the book. I read the book.
Yeah,
and
what the heck, EOS?
And the book started saying, do you control your business, or does your business control you? And I cried.
Right.
And I was like, Jason, we have to do this. And he said, I will do this on one condition, that you don't change your mind.
Right.
So we did it. We
Committed.
did all the work.
Wow.
And it was a game changer.
Right.
It's still a game changer for me.
Interesting. Love the tidbits we're hitting on here. Serious topic, but some side tangents on really what works for business. The entrepreneur that has all the great ideas is now part of being structured. How does it feel to be structured? Are you okay?
Ooh, it hurts so bad sometimes. Sometimes I call Jason the dream crusher, and sometimes I call him the dream equipper.
Right.
So it just depends on the day.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. Circle of Sisters, 2019. What's that?
We have our women's affinity giving circle.
Yeah.
So it's our women who want to give their time, treasure, and talent. And we have now 85 women who
Volunteers,
volunteer.
like on the ready kind
and
of thing.
it's a giving circle, so they give
Okay.
money, and they're kind of like our inner circle.
Okay.
And they do our Dress for Success program, and have to go through a training to do
Okay.
special volunteers with
Okay.
our ladies. But
So
yeah,
kind of like elders in a church kind of
Kind
thing.
of, yeah. Next level.
Interesting. And then I see a band of brothers in
our
here.
band of
so you let
brothers.
the men in.
we let them in. And because this is a great point, because everyone thinks that this is a women's issue.
Yeah.
Like usually women show up,
Yeah.
but in reality this is an us issue.
Yeah, for sure.
And like it takes both men and women, And right now, the Band of Brothers, they've been really working on what are we going to do about demand, right?
Right.
How are we going to come alongside other men? And because we have this belief, right? A woman's journey to being sold is broken, right? No woman chooses this.
Right.
And then but a man's journey to buying is broken too.
Right.
So how can we bring restoration to everybody?
Interesting.
And stop the cycle.
Yeah, interesting. This really stood out. In 2020, COVID hit. You guys made masks.
We did.
What an awesome pivot.
Yeah. So we were
Did you know how to make masks?
No. No one knew how to make masks.
How do you make a mask?
But again, we had at that point we were in 2,800 square feet, and then off-site we had 3 storage containers full of T-shirts, and we had this one that was full of brand new T-shirts. And when the pandemic hit, no one had masks, and we're like, well, we have these storage containers full of T-shirts. And we made T-shirt masks, and we were the first one out and in the T-shirt. But then we also were one of the first ones to do medical masks. We got access, and then the hospitals used them. We had a partnership with Vistar, and all the credit unions got together and funded making masks to us.
Right.
And then we were donating them to the hospitals. And yeah, our whole warehouse became a mass production facility.
Well, that had to be a pretty quick pivot.
It was a quick pivot.
Which
is one thing in my skill set that I can pivot like nobody because of my ADHD entrepreneurial spirit.
How did you but seriously, how did you figure out how to make masks? 'Cause I mean,
on the internet.
Yeah.
On the internet. And then Jason worked with our design manager at the time, and one of our survivors was really savvy too.
Okay.
And they're the ones that really developed the medical mask.
Interesting. Wow. Going on in 2021, you purchased your first building or home, 36,000 square feet,
in the middle of
515 East 9th, in the middle of COVID.
In the middle of COVID.
So that's where you are now.
That's where we are now.
That's a big compound.
2 acres, 36. Yeah, it's a compound.
So tell us how you found it, how you went about buying it. How does that work?
So we were in 2,800 square feet for 10 years.
Yeah.
We were looking for a building for about 4 years, and then COVID hit. And about 2 months into COVID, we reached out to this realtor we know, and he showed us 4 places. The last place was 515. We call it 515. We walked on 515, and we're like, we knew instantly this is it.
Yeah.
This is going to be our forever home.
Was it in bad shape? Good shape?
No, it was in move-inable shape, right? It was a auction home.
Okay.
It was an auction house at the time. And I mean, I love this story because, again, Jacksonville showed out, right?
Yeah.
It's in the middle of COVID. We found this building. We put an offer down. We have 6 months to buy it outright.
Okay.
It's $1.2 million, which is, to me, it's just like an exorbitant amount of money.
It might as well be $1 billion.
It might as well be $1 billion. And we bought the building debt-free with enough money to rehab the first section of it and move in.
Oh my gosh.
It was incredible.
Within 6 months of organizing donations.
Yeah, we bought the building, and then we had about 8 more months of rehab. We made it look nicer, put in insulation and all that good stuff.
How did you know it was the place for you, right? When you
because we knew it was.
So you can remember the moment, working there.
We walked in, and it equipped us. There was space to grow, right? And we have 2 buildings that we've been renting out for the past 2 years, and so that's income. So while we're growing, we can rent these out and still grow.
Right.
And we're near Springfield, which is a great neighborhood, near East Side, which is being developed. And so it just met all of these criteria.
Right.
And it was like a unanimous.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. So this gets to the exciting one you've referenced before.
Yeah.
Is purchase the toffee. So you purchased a toffee business.
Oh my gosh. Do
you realize you're just trying to make mask and jewelry? Toffee doesn't fit into that.
Well, the funny thing is we bought poor Jason, our COO. We bought the toffee company at the same time we bought the building.
Oh my gosh.
I had met Anita. It was called Amelia Toffee. I had met Anita 2 years prior to this, buying the company, and we have to sell Survivor Made. So she took our Survivor Made coffee and our honey and tea, and she infused it in her toffee.
Neat.
And then we sold it, and it quickly became one of our #1 bestsellers. So it worked out. Now that we have the new building,
right,
we could build out a kitchen, and she was ready to sell.
Right.
So it was perfect timing, perfect merger. We knew it was a great product. It was tested. It was corporate gifts. And, we bought it and never looked back. And it's our #1 best-selling product now.
By far. Wow.
Yeah.
And you sell that online in addition to in your store?
We sell it online sometimes because we can't ship it.
Right. Delicate. Yeah, for sure.
That's the downfall of it. But have you had it yet? I need to just
start
bringing it everywhere.
But toffee is really good. I'm sure yours is amazing.
It's the best.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah. Because you were using the toffee before, so that's really what gave you the idea, hey, are you interested in selling this as a perfect thing? Yeah.
And then we didn't know this, but like when we bought the company, it came with a chef, Dorleen, who's like...
Still there?
Oh, she's still there. She's full-time with us now. She was only a couple hours a week but now she's full-time. She's incredible.
Yeah.
And so for example, like we have coffee toffee, right? And it's toffee infused with coffee. So they take our Survivor made coffee and they make a coffee extract. So we have homemade coffee extract. We have homemade vanilla extract. They roast their own peanut butter and put it in there. So like, it's like this amazing artisanal toffee.
Yeah.
But that is even more amazing than we thought when we bought the company because of the people that came with it.
Oh man, that's awesome. And then it goes on now, which was interesting. Just this past year, now the production's on your grounds.
On ground, we opened. We finally the industrial kitchen took longer to build out than the entire 21,000 square feet we're in.
So when you that's hard for people to understand that haven't worked in or know an industrial. Like, what's an industrial kitchen? Like, what is it? So we have to have, there's all these special architectural things you have to have. Everything has to be spaced differently. We have a huge freezer because you make the toffee and then flash freeze it. You have to have like a certain burner with a certain hood on it. I mean, there was all these specifications. So it's a large, very regulated kitchen. Regulated by the
FDA, the city, the government.
Really?
I mean, all the levels. Yeah. And then you have to have it, food inspector. Like, I mean, it's like all the levels.
Right.
So it's just a different beast than what we did.
Right. Now, does that just do the toffee, or do you fix your meals through that too?
Right now, we don't. It's just the toffee. And then we make meals in our, I'm putting air quotes, kitchen.
Yeah.
We have like pressure cookers and toaster ovens, and somehow they just make it work. They cook for 42 people every single day without an oven.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
We have the best people at Rethreaded.
That's amazing. Well, you just celebrated your 13th birthday in 2024, and I have to ask, because I can just see it oozing from you, what's the next product coming? Any sneak peeks? Ideas? There's definitely some in your head, I can tell. They're popping
There always is. I'm probably most excited about, I'm going to write my first section of a book.
Okay.
It's going to be about finding your purpose and living out your purpose. So that's like my project right now. So that is, I'm getting really excited.
Yeah.
We already have the book cover designed, and I haven't even written the book. So but just very typical of me.
Yeah, just fill it in. Yeah,
just
absolutely.
fill it in.
I mean, start writing.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And I'm glad that kind of bleeds into you, because I wanted to talk about you a little bit. Just doing the research on Facebook and everything else. You're an ocean swimmer.
I am.
How far out in the ocean do you go?
Not that you have to get out. So you swim out past the breakers, and then you swim parallel to the shore.
Right.
And you swim. Usually we try to swim with the current.
Right.
So depending on the day.
And you do it with people, right? Not by yourself.
I don't do it by myself.
Okay.
I only do dumb things with other people.
Okay, that's good. Because when I texted you the other morning, you're like, I just got out of the beach, and I'm like, hold on a second. It's December here, and you're swimming in the beach. Yes. So you don't wear a wetsuit. You must be pretty tough.
This is a new. Yeah, I usually wear a wetsuit, but my wetsuits don't fit anymore. So I was like, well, I don't want to stop swimming.
Yeah.
So I found that I really love the cold water.
Yeah.
Well, it's like it's kind of like on trend now.
Well, yeah, for sure. But the ice tubs and everything.
It stops all the voices in my head.
Yeah.
I feel peaceful. I mean, I swim faster because I want to get out of the water. It's
cold.
Right. But it's this amazing sensation of you're in this cold water and your feet or hands are cold, but all the blood is in your core and you're warm.
Yeah.
In this really cold environment, and I just love it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
In the sunrise, I mean, it's beautiful.
I love the beach. I'm a beach person. I'm not out there swimming that far out because I always like to see the bottom. That kind of freaks me out, but I'm glad you're braver than me.
No. I know everyone asks me about sharks, and I was like, sharks is not what we're worried about. It's jellyfish.
I would feel sorry for the shark that would try to take you on. I don't think they would win. Now, listen to one of your podcasts. Sounds like you have an earring problem. Could you tell me about how this works? Because I thought that was very interesting.
Okay, that episode was about, we ended up talking about leadership.
Yes.
And I am I'm the best customer at Rethreaded buying earrings.
Right.
Because I only want to wear Rethreaded earrings, but I lose earrings all the time.
Okay.
Like literally all the time.
And you're just aware of the problem and you still do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Except these earrings are from Rethreaded that I have on, and they have backs on them, and now I never take them off. So I swim in them, shower in them. So far, I haven't bought a pair of earrings in like 6 months, which is a record. Wow. Yeah, and sometimes I let the fact that I lose everything discount me as a leader. Yeah. But it's just part of who I am.
Well, I'm confident you're a good leader. You could lose earrings, you'll still be good. Now, I saw you had a significant milestone last year. You bought your first house.
I did. I bought my first house.
Is it close to work?
Well, this is me. Okay. I did live next door to my best friends for 8 years. Right? And I rented this little house next door to them. Yeah. And then we have these neighbors and we're all like really good friends who take care of each other. I'm single, so I like having my little tucked in community. Yeah. And I run an eBay side hustle, so I've been saving for a while to get a down payment. But I didn't want to move because I didn't want to move out of my little people. Right. And then the house across the street came available miraculously, and we didn't have to put it on the market because I knew her, and I just bought it from her, and I literally moved across the street and bought my first house. Well, congratulations. And now I just have a deeper understanding of all things. I don't know if I love it yet because it's been very expensive. Well, yeah, for sure. For sure. It's a different mindset when you own a home. 100%. It's a total different mindset. Yeah.
It's funny hearing your story and Rethreaded, your hard work and your perseverance and putting yourself in tough situations. I feel like the light has shined upon you, that things are happening the way that they should for somebody like you. Do you feel the same way? I'll
take that, yeah.
Yeah? Well, good. And you graduated from UF. You're a Gator?
I'm a Gator.
And food science, which is, I thought that was really interesting.
Nutrition, yeah.
That makes complete sense when you're making masks.
in my previous, I majored in food science, dietitian. Okay. And then I did a year internship in Augusta, Georgia. And I got my license as a dietitian, and I've only worked 2 years of my life as a licensed dietitian.
Interesting. Well, I imagine that training kind of helped a little bit with the food stuff, or no, not really.
No. I forgot most of everything.
Well, going to school, we go to school, and things happen in life after that.
I know, that's what I was like.
They don't have to correlate.
Tell people, I was like,
my dad had a PhD in food science, and that was a long time ago. That's what made it stand out. Wow. When I was going through through that. Well, I definitely want to mention your podcast because I was super nervous when I asked you on the show, and then I realized you have your own podcast. I'm like, whew, man, I better have my best foot forward. And I listened to several episodes. The main ones I love were the summaries of last year, where it was kind of in the middle of the year. I think it was your first full year, and you summarized a lot of the things. And I love that. Like, talk about your podcast and why you wanted to do it. So
we now have this process. Our process is called Rethreading Lives, and it's the makeup of these 5 powers: time, community, openness. Of course, I know I would forget them because I'm a little nervous when I talk about it. Still, the 5 powers, and you invest in these in your life, and you reach your potential. So we watch women go through hard things all the time, right? And they come out on the other side with complete restoration. And I was like, how do you do that? And we interviewed them and counselors, and we came up with like, oh my gosh, here's the Rethreaded process. And I want to help other people. Like, we all have hard things. Like, no one is immune to it. Right. So how did these people make it through these hard things? And then how can we use these powers in our life to overcome and heal? So I interview people who've been through hard things and learn from them. And it's like changing my life to interview these people.
So hard things, not necessarily related to Rethreaded, but just all over.
Yeah, just all over. Like one woman grew up at 12, she emancipated herself and moved away from her family and started a totally different life with her aunt and uncle.
Wow.
6 states away. And how did she do that?
Yeah,
and
right.
Like all these amazing people. Billy Wagner.
Yeah,
freaking
right.
Billy Wagner, like interviewed him and how do you use the most with your time.
Right.
And just, yeah, we have amazing people in Jacksonville.
There was a gentleman, I can't remember his name, but like his granddad was something. Tell me about that
Gosh, Travis.
Right.
You
and what
have
does
to
Travis
know Travis.
do?
You need to bring Travis on the podcast.
Okay.
Travis runs, he's the COO at Jax.
Okay.
The East Side.
Okay.
So East Side is the area near the stadium,
Mm-hmm.
between the Springfield and the stadium. And they're doing community revival. And Travis grew up in that neighborhood. His family is multi-generational in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's in charge of Jax, of revitalizing the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And you have to listen to the podcast, but it involved him finding out the work that his grandfather had done.
Which
in the same
ironically he was
community.
starting to do without
Yep.
even knowing.
Without even knowing
That's
it.
like wild. Yeah.
Full circle moment for
Yeah,
him.
that's crazy.
That was a good moment.
You talk a lot in the podcast. You're talking about themes that getting through hard stuff and how they did that, and obviously that can help you talk to the people you minister to or help. You talk about a rethreaded life. What does that mean?
That means the complete restoration of all the hard things that happened to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's taking whatever those hard things are, healing, and those threads that, like, we think of the idea as potential as like a sphere.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you go through hard things, it contracts your space to hold life.
Mm-hmm.
So let's heal. Let's take those threads and heal them and expand your ability to hold life, to reach your potential.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, definitely check out the podcast. Well, I wanted to mention too, I'm sure you're modest, but man, there's just a string of awards that Rethreaded has gotten. Investing in You an award, Jack's Boldest Award, One Spark Award, Project One Way All-Stars, U.S. Senate Small Business, Best of Jax 2023. I mean, there's got to be several more, I'm sure.
I'm so proud of Rethreaded.
It's your energy. We can definitely feel it. And I love having you on the podcast. It really, I think I wanted to get to where we started and reiterate that on trafficking is just not what you think it is. And it's more common than you think it is. Like if somebody feels like there's a situation going on, how could they help? Like, or how could they notify someone that even knows what to do?
So immediately, if there's anyone in danger, call 911.
Okay.
The second, if you see something and it's suspicious, you can call the non-emergency police line and put in a report.
Okay.
People don't think that matters. It so matters. That's how the police build cases, right? There's a trafficker who wore like this green jacket everywhere, and they kept getting these reports of this guy in this green jacket.
Wow.
So every time someone does that, it's a report. And then what I tell most people is like, human trafficking is a symptom of disconnection. So you have to invest in your community. Mm-hmm. You have to help the vulnerable. Like we have to do that, or human trafficking wins. Mm-hmm. So that's my word. Is like, let's take care of each other. Mm-hmm. Invest in the lives of kids. I mean, be the best husband. Be the best dad. Mm-hmm. Right. Be the best version of who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take care of each other.
Yeah. No, it's touching and very important and a very serious topic, but I love how you've really taken your entrepreneurial spirit and taken this bad thing into a great thing. Your toffee, your gifts, your earrings, the food. I mean, it's really incredible and a great lesson for a lot on some of the themes that we brought up. So, Kristin, thank you.
Thank you.
This was awesome meeting you, and I really appreciate your time. Going to go down as one of the best ones, and look forward to keep following your progress.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Hometown Jax podcast is recorded and produced by First Coast Mortgage Funding, located in the heart of Jacksonville. Do you want to be our next guest? Visit our website at hometownjaxpodcast.com. We can't wait to hear your story.